So, what did you miss at Jubilee this morning? Well, you missed the last service of the year. Traditionally, a quiet, reflective time. We sang some carols that were yet unsung. We gathered together, I don't know, 120 of us, and we reflected. We heard the story from Luke's Gospel of Simeon greeting the baby Jesus at the temple and Anna. We also heard the story from Matthew's Gospel of the Magi and Herod's anger and slaughter of the innocents. And it had been my plan that, as I often do on the Sunday after Christmas, that I would invite us to choose between light and dark, Matthew and Luke, embracing the future or gripping so hard to the past that we strangle, even kill the future. But something in those words of Simeon, the Nunc Dimittis, the sound of peace, that glorious moment when Simeon recognizes the presence of God and feels he has now fulfilled his life and can depart in peace, recognizing a presence for all peoples, to the Gentiles and to Israel. He recognizes the Messiah, the hope, the future, the promise. That incredible sense of peace he has. I couldn't get past that text. And so I tossed my plan to text away. And instead, this morning, we talked a little bit about peace. What peace looks like, what peace feels like. I confess to being part of a family, like many of us are, a family that gathers at Christmas, and it's a joyous thing to gather with family, and yet at the same time, over the hours that you're together, there's at least somebody you want to strangle. Sometimes it's everybody at a different time. That somehow Christmas never goes exactly as you want it to go. And real peace would be perhaps if everybody would just do what you want, live up to your expectations, not disappoint you, not bring their difficulties and their problems, but just let everything go according to plan. But that's not the peace that Simeon talks about. That's not a real peace. Simeon recognizes God's presence and engages God's presence, recognizes the light of God and shares the light of God. He recognizes, in fact, that in this presence in Jesus, there will be conflict and there will be struggle. And a sword will pierce Mary's soul and heart as well. And yet he has peace. And so today we reflected and wondered about we discarded the idea that peace is when everything goes your way, but instead embraced the idea that peace is when we recognize God's presence and God's will, when we reflect that presence and that will, when we engage in it. And so those members of the family who disappoint us, when we recognize how much they love us and see God in them, we can find peace, even when there's conflict. When we look around the world and see the difficulties, and we see the invitation to shine into that darkness, to reach where others haven't reached, when we recognize God's presence in the other or offer God's presence to the other, then we can find real peace. And so we let go of 2014, acknowledging those times that we have not found real peace, but instead settled for something less. We acknowledged in 2014 the times that we have been at our best and the times we have not. We have asked God to share our grief that we carried in 2014 but to share it and not take it away, because in our grief often there is love that we're not prepared to release just yet. And together we prayed for 2015, where we together can be part of that light, that presence, a light to the Gentiles and to the glory that is Israel, to all the peoples. And we asked that we be prepared to depart in peace this year of 2014, and that we be prepared to engage in peace in 2015, like Simeon. So that's what you missed today. But I hope that you can spend some time thinking about peace and finding ways to engage in peace in the few days we have left this year, and certainly in 2015. We'll see you next year. God bless.